tonight. So my thing, everybody, is kids. I love little ones. I love big ones. But my favourite flavour of all time, you ready? It's naughty ones. But I'm not just talking about your average naughty. I'm talking about fucking rat bags. Why are you guys laughing? Like, honestly, I love rat bags. They're really fun. So when people hear this about me, they're mostly like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's interesting. Tell me more. Except for the parents who immediately turn to me and say, so what's my fault? Or they'll say, I've done X. Is it my fault? To which I'll say, well, technically X is Elon Musk's fault. But, you know, there's a few shades of grey. So I'm going to go through some of these shades of grey with you tonight. First one. This is my daughter Hazel, by the way, everybody. Unfortunately, she can't be here tonight because there's some sort of metro-related mess up with the train. So that's very disappointing. So anyway. Say you have a child, Hazel, who refuses to put on her shoes, especially sandals, unless she sings, as the parent, you're singing, baby beluga, and then she'll put it on. Is that your fault? Yeah. Yeah. All right, another common one that comes up. Your child's in the escalator. Leichhardt Marketplace. Hazel is shoving literally every single person out of the lift, saying, my lift, my lift, my lift. I'm sorry, not Hazel, your child. Is it your fault? Yeah. Yeah, it's your fault, sorry about that. All right, another common one. It's a child. In the clinic in which I see children as a clinical child psychologist, which I failed to remember to tell you in my first slide because this is my first time ever doing comedy. They're in the clinic, we've got some recording equipment up, we're measuring what they're doing, we're watching what they're doing, and this little guy, he comes over, he starts flicking the light switch on and off, yelling, "Fuck you, Mr. Security Man!" Doing a group finger to everybody. It's probably your fault, sorry. So I'm not interested in you just run-of-the-mill security guard hating light switch flicking kind of kid. What I'm interested is your real rat bags. The kids who are aggressive, the kids who are mean, the kids who don't really show any remorse for what they do. And that's what I'm interested in. That's kind of my thing. So when people ask me how I got into this, I like to take them on a bit of a history, bit of a time walk back through history and the history of fashion. So back in whatever year it was, let's say 2025, I was working in. Thank you. I was working in drug and alcohol. I was working with teenagers with substance use problems in a 3-month residential program. And look, this experience taught me lots of things, like how to clean sneakers with toothpaste. It taught me how to say the appropriate time to say, is this eshe? It also taught me the putrid smell of a 15-year-old adolescent boy's room. And the even worse smell of a 15-year-old adolescent boy's room who's detoxing from methylated spirits. Yeah. So it was pretty intense work at times, but I really loved it. It was really fun. I got to work with a lot of adolescents doing a lot of interesting things who were all substance dependent at the time, but were moving up in the world. They were trying to get their life back on track. So most of the time, these kids are all pretty happy-go-lucky kind of kids. But occasionally you'd get one who was a little bit funny. So there's this one kid, story time. It's about 10 p.m. at night. I'm on shift in this adolescent rehab. My co-worker is a literally 65-year-old lady who's gone to sleep for the night on the couch. And this kid, let's call him Kevin. We've been working together for ages. We're like getting on really well. We've got this really lovely rapport in between counselling sessions. He comes in and he says, "Hey Jaimie, can I have a diary please?" And I was like, "Mate, sorry, it's 10 o'clock, you can't have one." And he says, "Well, all right, but I know where you live. And I'm going to come for you." Now, I'm talking about the scary kind of come for you. Not the 7 times a day I'm an adolescent boy kind of come for you. So I pulled out his notes. I gave him an 8 out of 10 because that was a bit creepy. It kind of creeped me out a little bit. 8 out of 10 for trying, but I said, "No, mate, sorry, you got to go back to bed." So he went back to bed. No big deal. No big fuss made out of it. All good. Goes to bed. The next day, I come into work, and I have this lovely office, and there's this meticulously drawn note from a page of a notepad in which this young boy has sketched in very immaculate detail me hanging dead from a tree with a rope around my neck. Yeah, right. And the scariest thing of all is he actually had my address. Yeah, think about that. I was devastated. I had worked really hard with this beautiful young boy who I thought was going to go on and do great things with his life. He couldn't even get my fucking likeness right. Like seriously, I had stick arms, I had stick legs. He didn't draw me with glasses, and he drew me as a brunette. Like, come on, mate. Like, try a little bit harder. So this was pretty distressing. I decided that I should probably leave and take my talents where they would be appreciated, to the adult justice system. Because at least in the adult justice system, they include drawing as part of their program. Thank you. So off I went to Big Boys Jail to help another future Kevin. But it was too late. Kevin had turned into a monster. And unfortunately, Kevin had become really heavily indoctrinated into the adult correction system, and it was very difficult to help him. So at that moment in time, I realised my true life calling. I needed to get them younger, I needed to get them earlier, I needed to get them when they could still learn to draw properly. And I realised that it would be with the beautiful young boys who were just killing ducks. So at that point I decided it was time to switch my career up a little bit, and I moved from Canberra up to the University of Sydney to work with my hero, Professor Mark Datz, who's in the crowd, everybody. Now, he doesn't tell this to everybody, but Mark told me the secret to life. Are you ready? He told me how to manipulate the people that you love the most. Do you want to hear it? Yes. I'm not convinced. Do you guys want to hear it? Yes. Oh, that's a little bit better. All right. So, to manipulate the people that you love the most, you have to catch them. You've got to give it high attention and high emotion to do more of the behaviours you want to see, and low attention, go cold, and you withdraw for the behaviours you want to see less. And that's it. I'm serious, try it. And it's actually a thing, it's called social learning theory. And this is the main intervention we use for our really naughty kids. It's also really good at everyday applications. Like your daughter singing Baby Beluga every time, your daughter getting you to sing Baby Beluga every time they wear sand. Like your best friend Vanessa buying you ever increasingly large bouquets of flowers every birthday. Like your academic dads reading more than the first and last paragraph of the papers you write. So the applications here are endless, and it's a really fantastic intervention. It works really well, and as a clinician, it's really fun to do because it's super effective. It's really, really effective, and you can tailor it to different families just so. And it works for everybody, except it doesn't work quite so well for Kevin. So what I've learned from my research so far is Kevin's in an elevator yelling at everyone to get out. It's not your fault! Kevin screaming, "Fuck you, Mr. Security Man! It's not your fault!" Woo! Baby beluga. It's definitely your fault. Just don't do it. If you've got new kids, just my mum friends, just please don't do it. It's not going to work out very well for you. So I need to be really clear here. It's not technically Kevin's fault either. Now, Kevin feels things differently, and he has different kind of emotional responses to what we would typically think of in terms of emotional responses and learning from things. So in that sense, I like to think of Kevin as having, as being a little bit neurodivergent. Now, because Kevin is unempathetic, because he doesn't show remorse, he technically meets what we'd call callous unemotional traits. And that's a really sciencey way of saying that he can have some really problematic behaviours. Now, in science, we try really careful to avoid terms like child psychopath. I don't know why. Probably because we don't want to set him up for expectations that he's going to be a CEO and a high flyer. But what's really interesting about kids with callous unemotional traits is that some of them will become psychopaths. Why are you guys laughing? Seriously, they will. But a lot of them won't. And that's what's really interesting. We don't know 100% what changes the trajectory of these kids. And that's what I'm really interested in. I want to know what happens with these kids. So when people hear this about me, they think, all right, so you're interested in emotion, you're interested in how kids learn about emotion, you're interested in how emotional learning changes how we can relate to people and be social. So you're probably hooking kids up with electrodes and showing them really traumatic videos. And that'd be right. This, my friends, is the Czechoslovakian version of Alice in Wonderland. Has anyone seen it? Ah, David! Yes! I knew you'd be here for me on this weird film. So this is literally the stuff of my nightmares. The stuff of my nightmares. But at the Child Behaviour Research Clinic, where myself and all my colleagues at the back work, we are even worse than this. We don't just show them really messed up clips like this. We show them scenes where a very cute protagonist gets chased by beasts, runs for their life, their dad comes to save them, and the dad successfully saves them, but they die. Their dad dies. We showed them this. I don't know how we got it past ethics, but our main emotional eliciting stimulus is the Lion King death scene. So what we do with this is we get kids to watch The Lion King, this 6-minute death scene. We measure their heart rate, we measure their skin conductance response, we measure their eye tracking to make sure they're looking at the right spots at the right times, that they're doing all the things that they need to do to have an emotional response. And we find out the emotional differences between them. And what we found is really fascinating. Kids who have high callous and unemotional traits look like they're getting as emotional in response to the death scene of The Lion King. They tell us they're feeling the same emotions, but their heart rates and their skin conductance are telling us that they're not as emotional as the kids without callous and unemotional traits and are usually typically developing kids as well. So what we have here is a really clear instance of children who see something and react to something, but actually what they're feeling is quite different. And this has potentially huge implications for social learning and what we do with the social learning and how we can help that. So is Kevin unemotional? I really don't think that he is, but I think that he experiences emotions in different ways. And what I'm really interested in is how can we tap into those emotions that he does feel and use them to help teach pro-social behaviours. So things like caring for others, sharing, playing well, saying nice things, being overly the top excited when you're standing in front of a huge crowd of people that you're really nervous about. Pro-social behaviours. And that's what I'm really interested in. So the next steps for me in my research is trying to get this funded. I have lots of ideas, I've applied for lots of grants, but I need some money. So if you guys have got some money, come and have a chat. I can sort you out with if you like a pen. Yeah, I can give you a pen. Yeah, okay, let's go with that. I'll give you a pen. But overall, I guess the main thing that I'm taking from this, these are my child Hazel and my beautiful mum's group, kids who are in the group. And I guess what we're really doing at the moment is I'm trying to find ways to help kids to thrive. And I really want people like Kevin to be able to live a healthy life and a happy life that they might not be able to live otherwise. And the same with their families, who are often really impacted by this. But in the meantime, all I'm doing is I'm teaching my beautiful mum friends and my beautiful mum's friends' kids how to avoid kids who kill ducks. Thank you very much, everybody.